Welcome back to the Stretch the Floor podcast. I'm Matthew here, as always, with Venushan, and this is our first week of recording playoff basketball podcasts. We have a lot to talk about. The series, quite a few series are pretty close to being over. Unfortunately, our Raptors too. We're basically just going to get into every series, talk about what we've seen so far in the matchups, what we expect to happen. We've had a little bit of injury trouble, so we're going to get into all that and maybe some of the what the offseason looks like for some of the teams that are kind of down bad in this first round. Let's start with the 1-8 matchup in the Eastern Conference, the Miami Heat, the Atlanta Hawks. Big win on Friday night. Yeah, Friday night for the Hawks. Taking that game by 1 point. So now it's a 2-1 series. We were ready to record an offseason clip for them, but it's 2-1 now. So what do you see heading into game 4, which is tonight?
So Kyle Lowry is limping and he was in street clothes. So hopefully that injury isn't too bad. Hopefully they would come back by the end of the series and not have a lasting impact into round 2, because him being injured is a big loss for them and his defense on Trae Young and stuff. Because PJ Tucker is better on bigger defenders, even though he's a small guy at 6'5", like he's a stocky guy. So he does a good job on Trae Young, but not as good as Kyle Lowry. So hopefully he's able to come back. The one thing to note of the Heat is kind of just their offense. Like, it's not their defense that lets them down. They have amazing defense, but sometimes their offense and like Bam, it just lets them down, because like Bam, this series has been playing like a normal role player, a really good defense role player, but not anything on the offensive end. He's giving you like Rudy Gobert production on the offensive end. So like it's pretty shocking, and he has to come back for the Heat to be championship favorites and championship contenders, like we all thought they were.
Totally agree. If the Heat take that game and don't lose by 1, I'm saying it's a wrap. And
yeah,
maybe Kyle Lowry, he maybe doesn't even have to play. It doesn't even have to try to force it in game 4. But now the pressure very much is on Miami in game 4, because if say Kyle Lowry doesn't play, say he misses the next game or 2 games, and if Bam doesn't come back, like you were just saying, I'm not saying they could lose the series, but it could be very interesting. And maybe teams that are the 1 seed don't want such a taxing series in the first round, because it's going to take a toll on you later on in the playoffs, right? You want to win it in 4 or 5, rest for a couple of days, and be ready to go for your round 2 and your round 3 matchups, right? So yeah, I don't know. It's going to be a very interesting game 4 in Atlanta.
Especially like the guys that they're trying to match up with. Like we see James Harden not being kind of 100%, like that hamstring issue.
Yeah.
We see Embiid dealing with a thumb injury and everything. So you don't want to give them a rest, right? Because if they win in 5 and then you go 7, you don't want to give them additional rest and be like, get his like rest like properly wrapped up, see what feels right, get a couple of practices under him. You don't want James Harden hamstring to get better and better, you know what I mean? So you just want to go right into it. But yeah, it's just kind of sucks for them that like I don't know what's happening like this last couple of games where they're relying on the 3-point shooters. Like they're relying on Gabe Vincent, Max Strus, Duncan Robinson to have good games. Obviously, Tyler Hero and Jimmy Butler haven't had good games, but the guy we're not naming is Bam Adebayo, who's on a max. Kyle Lowry, who's making $30 million a year. Both those guys have been like under 15 points per game. Like it's shocking. Those guys have to step it up offensively. Kyle Lowry, I know like the other regular season, we were like, oh, they got the 1 seed. He was just playmaking. But to be a contender, to be a championship contender, like he has to at least be able to go there and get you 15. Bam has to be a 20-point guy, like when they had that finals run. Like this offensive lack of offense those two are giving is very unacceptable for the Heat.
Yeah, no, totally agree. Yeah, for the most part, you're okay with Lowry just kind of sitting back and facilitating, but he's going to need those moments like in game 6 of when the Raptors won the championship to come out and score 8-10 points in the first quarter. Like sometimes you're going to need your lead guard to do that every
shots.
Now and again, hit some shots, create some shots for himself, take the game. Kyle Lowry is known for how many times were the Raptors on a bad streak, down by 7, 8, 9, and he would just go on like a 5-0 run by himself, draw a charge, get an N1 or something like that. So they're going to need him to do that for sure. And yeah, if he's not at 100%, then I'd be pretty worried if I was a Heat fan. Okay, let's move on to the 2-7 matchup, which is the Boston Celtics and the Brooklyn Nets. So this series is maybe to our surprise, maybe not, 3-0 series for the Celtics. Jason Tatum has been beyond amazing. Robert Williams actually came back, played 16 minutes.
Yeah.
So up 3-0 on the Nets. Let's talk about the series first, and then I want to talk about the Nets offseason and also how far we really think the Celtics could go in these playoffs.
The Celtics have been looking like the best team out of the East so far. They look like the favorites to make it out of the East. Big reason for that is Chris Middleton being done for the series and potentially into round 2, into round 3. We don't know how far his injury is going to last. But obviously, that's the big reason our favorite Bucks lost their second best player to a pretty big insignificant injury. So the Celtics look like the favorites to get out the East. And that's because Jason Tatum is looking like a two-way superstar. Like he is looking like a great defensive player, like a defensive first team type of defender. Like how he guards Kevin Durant and how hard he's making for Kevin Durant. Obviously, it's a team defense. We see them switching. We see them help defender coming in. We see, Andre Drummond get left open a couple times. We see shooters miss shots because they're getting, double KD and stuff like that, and getting physical Kevin Durant. Yes, it is a team defense. I'm not denying that, but Jason Tatum is like the main guy guarding Kevin Durant, and he's having an amazing defensive performance, one of the best defensive performances I've seen by a superstar ever. Like this is up there with it's incredible. Yeah, it's like a Kawhi Leonard type performance, and this team just has two amazing guys. This team is just the Clippers, like what we thought the Clippers are going to be.
Yeah,
Jason Tatum playing at a Kawhi level, both offensively and defensively. Jay Brown stepping up and doing similar things, and then you have solid role players everywhere else. A great rim running center,
defensive player of the year,
a good veteran center. Defensive player of the year in Marcus Smart, good shooters, good energy guys. Like this team is just what the Clippers were supposed to be, and it's fun to watch. And I could definitely see them sweeping this Nets team. Yeah. And this Nets team is more. Their names make them sound like a bigger achievement, and it is a good achievement sweeping Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving. But this Nets team is not that great. It's not what the Nets were projected to be. They don't have chemistry. They don't really have plays. They kind of just go ISO. And they're just going to be so much better eventually. Like we all expect them to lose in the first round. Yeah. We just didn't expect it to be this easy and this of a sweep.
Yeah. On that note, so Kevin Durant has obviously not played to Kevin Durant level. In game 3, he played 46 minutes, only scored 16 points, only made 6 of 11 from the field. Are you just chalking that up to Jason Tatum's defense, or is there something deeper to this, do you think?
Well, it's a historic defense, and that included, so I'll give him credit where credit's due. And number 2, Steve Nash might be out as a coach. I love him. One of my favorite players. He's Canadian. We're Canadian, so we obviously like him and want him to succeed. For him not having an offensive system at all, him not having backdoor cuts, him not having, it's just like, man, he literally looks like something how we would play when we go to the park.
Yeah.
We set screens and we do ISOs. We set screens and we do ISOs constantly. And that's, our 2 best players on our team just to do that. You know what I mean? Like, that's how it looks like. And that's not going to win you a championship in the NBA. Yeah, I think it's time for Steve Nash to maybe get going. But also, you have a conversation, Steve Nash, Kevin Durant, Kyrie, and the front office and everything, and just say, how do you plan on improving the offense now that Ben Simmons is here? Ben Simmons is going to play game 4 next season going on to it. And if Steve Nash actually puts out plays and offensive schemes and everything and says, all right, we only did that because of lack of chemistry, which could be a valid excuse, keep Steve Nash. But if Steve Nash just says we're going to do the same stuff with next season and now we're healthy, so we're going to win, you fire him. So you see his response.
Yeah, I feel like he'll get one more shot at it, just out of respect for who he is, maybe. Yeah. And the fact that he really hasn't ever really had a fair shot at coaching the team that as it was supposed to be, as it was intended to be, with all their injuries last year, all their injuries in the playoffs last year with James Harden hamstring and all that stuff. Then this year with Ben Simmons and all the Kyrie stuff. He hasn't really coached the Brooklyn Nets in their true form for a whole season. So I can probably see him getting one more shot at that. Front office wise, do you see any changes at all? Because I don't really think anything major would be coming.
No, so he's still keeping. His starting was going to still be Kyrie, Seth Curry, Kevin Durant, Ben Simmons. The one thing I can see is you have a 15 million Joe Harris. You have those Philly picks. You have Claxton. That's going to push you up to around 17 million plus 2 picks. I don't know, like if who's a seven, like Christian Wood is 17 million.
Yeah.
Miles Turner is 17 million.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? You could throw those guys plus the 2 picks. If any of those guys bite, you take them. If they don't, then you just keep rolling on it. But I see them as a team that comes into this, like they go into the regular season kind of same. They either get mine or Wood in a like trade deadline type season.
Yeah. I agree. Totally agree on that. Yeah, let's go on to the next series. 3-6 matchup. So we mentioned Chris Middleton's injury. Hasn't really seemed to affect them that much because as at the time of recording, the Bucks are up by 16 right now in Chicago.
Chris got injured and is out for the game.
Yeah.
With a face injury.
Yeah.
Got hit in the face.
Yeah. Didn't he get a face injury earlier in the season? I don't know. Anyway, so they're up by 17 right now. Looks like, don't want to say it too early, but looks like they're going to be going up 3-1. So I guess the main thing with the Bucks is if Middleton is healthy, they're probably both of our favorites in the East. The Celtics might be shifting that a little bit with how well they're playing, but if Middleton's healthy, I'm picking the Bucks maybe to win the championship again. But if he's not, that changes everything. Even if he's just not healthy for the second round, because they could lose that round too.
The Celtics, yeah. Because that's play the second round, and that's going to be kind of like the conference finals, one of the tougher matchups. And Chris Middleton has to be 100% because we see how this good team defense is, and they're going to force the ball out of Giannis's hands.
Mm-hmm.
And Drew Holiday, this is kind of funny because that's like good team defense where, yes, a defensive player of the team is on the Celtics, but they're more of a team as a defenders, right? Whereas the Bucks are kind of like individual defenders. Like Drew Holiday is going to be a crazy defender on one person, which is probably Tatum. And then Giannis is going to be a helps free safety, which is going to get the paint out. So it's going to be relying on their like shooting and how good they're going to be able to shoot and spread the floor.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but you could tell how excited we are about talking about the next series that this series is done already. The Bucks are going to advance.
Yeah.
The Celtics are going to advance. Both the series are done. Bulls, at the end of the day, they just don't have a roster compiled together, and they had a lot of injuries. So, yeah, they need to do something about the Vucevic situation. They need to get a forward that can actually defend and shoot a little bit. They need to make a couple of changes to fill out this team a little bit better. And Vucevic probably has to head out. But, yeah, the Bulls are kind of done for the season. Lonzo Ball hopefully returning next year, fully healthy. Alex Caruso fully healthy. Kobe White and Patrick Williams were massive trade pieces, which still has trade value. So expect big changes from the Bulls once again to kind of restructure their team. And Zach LaVine's a free agent, so he has to resign first of all, which I think he will do. But after he resigns, I still expect a lot of changes to come where they fill this team out with better defense and better shooting to be actual contenders next year. This year was more about just making the playoffs and just, bringing excitement back to Chicago.
Yeah. Well, I mean, at the time, this is only a 2-1 series right now, so we'll do our full Chicago Bulls offseason deep dive, maybe next week. But for now, we'll leave that for now. So that brings us to the 4-5 matchup, the final matchup in the Eastern Conference, which was 3-0. Joel Embiid hit a game-winning shot, which maybe was revenge for a Kawhi Leonard shot over him and Ben Simmons for the Raptors to take the Game 7 of the second round in 2019. But the Raptors took the game yesterday in Scotty Barnes' return since leaving in Game 1 on the day that he was announced as the Rookie of the Year. Big win there. And the Raptors, I can see them taking one more game. Fred VanVleet is going to hinge on he hurt his hip. He only played 14 minutes or something yesterday. So, yeah, I don't know. Do you think the Raptors could pull out one more game in this series?
Oh, for sure. They definitely can because the Raptors actually played better once Freddie got left. Like they got more size in, more length in, better switchability. But obviously, we both know losing Freddie's shooting is going to really impact them if it's throughout the whole game. And they're really going to struggle without that. So Freddie needs to be ready to go. And I think they can, as long as the calls are going kind of the way it has been, game 3 and game 4.
Yeah.
Both those teams looked like a good matchup, right? It looked like the matchup that we expected where it goes 6 or 7.
Yeah.
But the way it was going the first 2 games, it's kind of scary because we're going back to Philly. Does the foul call go back the way it was game 1 and 2? Or has that just changed and it's now this is the new way the fouls are being called game 3 and 4? So kind of depends on the refs. Kind of sucks to say because like they've been talked about so much this series. Like instead of talking about Joel Embiid's heroics in game 3, when James Harden fouled out and he still carried them to the win. This had to come about Pascal Siakam's heroics in game 4 to make sure this team doesn't get swept and he's playing incredible. We're talking about the refs constantly over and over again. But I think with any Philly series, it's how it's going to be because this team is so good at getting foul calls that they're going to constantly be talked about to refs. It's either they call it or they don't. So it just sucks that that's the narrative with this whole series.
Yeah, it sucks. But that being said, how this series is completely different if at least one of those Precious Achiuwa free throws goes in game 3. And yeah, like this is a 2-2 series. And I agree with you that these teams look very, very evenly matched. The margin of victory, I mean, Philadelphia didn't lead until overtime in that overtime game that they lost, that the Raptors lost.
Yeah.
And I'm just thinking like maybe that tiny 1% margin, if Scottie Barnes had been playing this whole time, he only played limited minutes and he was obviously not 100% yesterday and still grabbed 11 boards. So I don't know. I'm just thinking maybe with Scottie Barnes playing the whole series just looks a little bit different. Maybe it's 2-2 heading back to Philly and it's a best of 3. But I don't know. Do we want to get into Raptors offseason talk or do we not want to jinx it?
I think we have to get into it. We said if any team that has 3 losses, we'll get into it. And they are a favorite team, so it kind of hurts to talk about their offseason. But this is a great season for the Raptors if it does end here and they lose in 5. They have an all-NBA player. They have in Pascal Siakam. They have an all-star in Fred VanVleet. They have their rookie of the year confirmed by Shams, Scottie Barnes.
Yeah.
And it's just a great season. They got the 5th seed. They played hard. And going into next year, you want to keep the starting 5 together. And you want to get some good shooters off the bench, a little better defenders, a little playmaking, really fill up the bench. They hopefully re-sign Thad Young. But I don't see big changes happening for this Raptors organization as this team played so well and they're so young that you're going to try to keep it together. But it's also Masai. If you see a center available or something, you can see him going for it. But right now, I would say keep the starting 5 together, re-sign Thad, re-sign Boucher, and get guys off the bench that could defend and shoot a little better.
Yeah, that's exactly my thinking. I'm thinking like just the bench, just fill up the bench. Like if the Derek White acquisition by Boston is like that really helped them, right? Like that kind of bench level 2-way guy who can do something for you on both ends. Just someone like that, a couple of guys like that, I think is mostly what this team needs. But you mentioned the center problem. The Raptors can usually get by without a center, and they have been, right? I mean, Embiid's been playing like Embiid, but he hasn't been dropping like 50 a game against this non-center Raptors roster, right? But just say that, I don't know, Utah calls Masai and says straight up Rudy Gobert for Siakam, or even like sprinkle a little bit on there. And what are you saying to that?
Hey, there's no chance I accept that unless they give us like 2-3 first round picks attached on top of that. There's no way. I think Rudy Gobert's trade value is so diluted by Utah Jazz fans. Like I could see him getting traded for like Tim Hardaway Jr. and Davis Bertans.
Wow.
Like I do not see him fetching back an all NBA level player.
Yeah.
And another trade I wanted to talk about when that came here is like a Clint Capella plus Danilo Gallinari.
That makes sense.
And then, the Hawks throw that 1 first round pick they got from the Knicks for the Cam Reddish trade. And then the Utah Jazz go flip Gallinari, that Knicks pick that Atlanta got, and their own pick to go get like Grant. So they get Grant and Capella for Gobert. That's something like the realm I see Gobert's trade value. not an all NBA player in Siakam. Unless they attach 3 first round picks. If they attach 3 first round picks, then I can see it happening.
Yeah.
Because they need to do something because they're going to trade it up. But Gobert's trade value is definitely overshot by Jazz fans just because he makes too much money. If he made 18 million, he actually would have crazy trade value.
Mm-hmm.
Like we can't trade OG for him straight up because of the contracts, right? Which is something that's more realistic than Pascal. So it sucks that Gobert's trade value just ruins. Goldberg's contract ruins his trade value.
Yeah, agreed. Like center wise, like Capella, I don't mind that fit on the Raptors either. Vucevic
It's just hard to get him a contract.
Yeah.
Same Vucevic contract too.
Contract, yeah. Christian Wood, we mentioned him earlier. Maybe that something like that would work. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe for like Gary Trent, but
yeah, I don't know.
It had to be something like that. It's tough because you don't want to let go of any of the 75 because they're playing so well together, but it's probably going to have to be Gary or like OG that goes. And OG's been stepping up so amazingly during this playoff run that's like, you don't want to get rid of him. So I can see them just going one more year.
Yeah.
Keeping this team together, seeing the internal development. Like Malachi Flynn looked pretty good.
Yep.
Like the spurts he got, like how much can he develop as a backup point guard?
Precious, yeah. Like
Precious is looking amazing as like a 6-man. Like Verge and Boucher, like pretty solid as like backup centers. Thad Young looks good as like a backup small forward / power forward. You add someone like Caleb Martin onto this team, or you find another like Max Stress, like then Miami Heat found, and is this series are we looking a lot better? You know what I mean? So
yeah,
it all depends, and I think they're gonna really keep it together. I don't expect fireworks to happen for the Raptors this offseason.
I agree. Obviously, any superstar that somehow becomes available or whatever, never rule out Masai.
Yeah.
But I agree that the season, like, even if this does end in tragedy for the Raptors in 5 or 6 or whatever it is, this is just the season's such a win. Like you said, rookie of the year, all NBA, all-star, 5th seed. Gary Trent Jr. easily could have been like a second team all defense or something or something like that, right? There's just Fred VanVleet too. So much to build on here. The team is young enough. The core works together well enough. We had concerns that Scotty and Siakam wouldn't be able to play together. I don't think we have those concerns anymore.
No.
And yeah, no, I totally agree. I think keep it together, and you could totally be a top 6, 5, maybe even 4 seed in the East next year with Scotty Barnes' improvement and Gary Trent's improvement and Precious and all those guys. A couple of more bench guys, yeah. Totally with you on that.
And we don't know how much Scotty can improve because that second year jump is crazy, right?
Yeah.
So imagine he takes a huge second year jump and he's the first option now, and then Pascal's second option, like Freddie third option, OG fourth option. Like that team looks a lot better. So yeah, you have to keep this team together for at least another year.
Hey, Scotty starts shooting 34, 35, 36% from 3, and he's like borderline all-star caliber player in my opinion already.
Yeah.
So
it's gonna be crazy.
Yeah. Okay, let's head to the West. So we'll do the 1-8 matchup in the West. It's the series is 2-1 Phoenix, but the only noteworthy thing to talk about, in my opinion, really is Devin Booker. Now he's going to be out for 3 weeks with a hamstring injury. That's huge. Even if he does come back in 3 weeks, assuming they survive that long without him, what percent is he going to be at? Because James Harden, I think, had a hamstring injury last year for Brooklyn. He was just clearly not the same player. So this just sucks. This is just really tough.
This shows how good the Suns team is. Not only do I expect them to win round 1, I expect them to win round 2 without Devin Booker.
Yeah.
Like this team is really good. It's just he needs to be back 100% because if he's back in that like wobbly state that Harden was, where he's like wobbling around the court and his threes were all short and stuff, then they're gonna lose in the conference finals, maybe even the second round. If Luka does crazy stuff, but like they really, really, really need Devin Booker to come back 100%, and it just sucks that he got hurt because they were looking like that Western Conference Finals with them and the Warriors, which everyone was projecting looked like what's going to look historic, and it's going to get Chris Paul get his revenge against the Golden State Warriors and Steph Curry. It's going to be such a good story and all that, but all we could now do is just hope for Devin Booker to come back 100%. I don't want to write off these Pelicans and say they're done. It's just at the end of the day, they're a young team. Monty Williams is a good coach, and he's the coach here. So, like Willie Green's a good coach, but he's going to get out coached by Monty Williams. They have another coach on the court, Chris Paul.
Mhm.
DeAndre Ayton is looking like the best big man. He's beating Valanciunas in the one-to-one matchup. And Brandon Ingram can do so much, but at the end of the day, they have really good defenders. And the second DPOP runner-up, defensive player of the year runner-up,
Yeah.
and Bridges on him. It's just a good matchup, good team. I could see the Pelicans pushing it to 6, maybe even 7, but I would still have the Suns beating them.
Yeah. Honestly, in a Sixers, maybe not 7, but a 6-game series might not be the worst thing, just to give them Booker maybe some more time to. But he's already been announced out for 3 weeks, so
Yeah,
realistically, they're going to be without him for presumably all of round 2, right?
yeah, at
We
least
would think
majority.
the majority of round 2, which, well, I guess we'll just head into. No, we'll come back. We'll come back to Dallas later. Let's go to the 2-7 matchup, which
Best matchup in
the
the best
best
matchup of the
matchup
first round.
in the first round easily. Fourth quarter came down to the wire last night. Towns had a great game. Almost messed it up, stepping out of bounds.
Yeah,
Instead of letting that rebound go, but didn't come back to bite them. So yeah, we picked. I think I said 5. I think you said 4. Either way,
yeah.
we thought the Minnesota wasn't going to put much of a fight, and they're heading back to Memphis with a tied series, and Game 6 is going to be happening in Minnesota. So this series, it's a best of 3 now.
And they should be up 3-1.
Yeah.
That game 3 was one of the worst collapses of all time. 2 25-point leads blown by the Timberwolves. Imagine saying the Minnesota Timberwolves should be up 3-1.
Yeah.
None of us would have said that.
No.
It's incredible how good this team's playing. We knew their offense was historic since January. We saw it, but we thought it's the type of teams they're going against. They're not going against that much playoff teams, so they're just they're blowing those teams out and then having close games against the playoff teams. So that's why the offense was seeing overrated, but no, we were wrong. This offense is legit. They could score from everywhere. They're incredible. And Anthony Edwards is taking that leap on the national level where it's all right, now all the NBA, real fans know who I was, but now all NBA casuals are gonna know who I am because me and John Morant, the guy who's being poised as the face of the league, are gonna have an incredible matchup. Karl-Anthony Towns has the games they win, he's incredible. He looks like an all-star. He looks like a superstar. In the games they lose, he's horrible and he's fouling at an incredible high rate and he just sucks. So all you need is 2 more good games from Cat and you probably win the series. And I can't even project who's going to come out this one. Obviously, I still think Grizzlies, but it's going to be Grizzlies in 7. This is going to be a toss-up. But man, this team's playing incredible. Last night, Desmond Bane was going crazy.
Yeah.
And they still couldn't get it out. I thought they were going to clear it with Desmond Bane playing how he was. But yeah, with this team, it's just I don't want to even blame their defense because the Wolves' offense is that good. But Dylan Brooks, he was known as a 2-way guy. He's got to do a little bit better. Jaren Jackson is doing pretty good. Xavier Tillman's doing pretty good. Steven Adams is not getting playing time because he shouldn't, because he can't play against these guys. But yeah, we could see some internal improvements on the defense, and we could see some trades for this Grizzlies team too. The defense, they really need to shore that up coming next season.
Yeah, no, totally. I think if both of us knew that the Minnesota Timberwolves offense was going to remain how it was and was going to be this explosive in the first round, I don't think we would have picked a sweep in a 5-game series. I think we would have picked maybe even 6 or 7. So yeah, that offense, man, Anthony Edwards in his second year is doing huge things. Grabbed a huge rebound yesterday on a free throw, I think it was, or something like that. Yeah, he's just doing so many things to help them win the game. And like you said, Karl-Anthony Towns, when he's on, he's probably the best player on the floor, maybe. And he's unstoppable at times. And then sometimes he's fouling out, sometimes he's doing boneheaded things. But if Towns plays well, Grizzlies could, if he plays well over the last 3 games, the Grizzlies could, or the Wolves can totally take the series.
And another thing we're not really talking about is D'Angelo Russell could also explode for a 40-point game.
Yeah.
Yes, he had 10 points last night, 10 points, 2 rebounds, 7 assists.
Yeah.
But if I tell you one game, D'Angelo Russell went to the line 6 times, hit 8 threes, and had 35 points, you'd say that's in the realm of possibility.
Yep.
Yes, it hasn't happened often, but we could also get a huge D'Angelo Russell game, which takes off the pressure of Towns and Anthony Edwards. And I really want D'Angelo Russell to be way more aggressive when he's the only guy on the court. Like, I get it. Like, you're trying to be that playmaker. You're trying to enter that like Lowry, Chris Paul mold where, you get your scorers. You get your big man, Cat, who's one of the best scorers, the ball. You get your wing guy, who's one of the best scorers, Anthony Edwards, the ball. But when those guys are on the bench, I really want to see D'Angelo Russell be like, all right, it's time for me to go off. It's time for me to be who I was back in that Nets playoff series where I was the guy shooting all the shots. So I really want him to go and step up. But man, it's been pretty good. And Patrick Beverley last game was also pretty amazing.
Oh, good. Yeah.
This guy was like Steph Curry with the shot, bro. Like his three was so good. His defense was good. Like he's been playing amazing. And hopefully he can keep that up too. But yeah, for them to win, pretty D'Angelo Russell explosion, and they got it. They're in the second round.
Yeah, totally. Like I agree with you on the aggressiveness point there with D'Angelo Russell. Like last game only took 12 shots, only took 11 shots in game one. He took 21 shots in game two, and he had not an efficient night, but he put up 22 points, hit 4 threes, 8 assists. Like the assists had been there, this series for him. So yeah, just turn it on a little bit. Especially if Cat's not having a game, if Edwards isn't having a game, then you're the only guy on the floor. Totally agree with you on that. But I do think this is series going 7 as well. And
and I would like to see some more Kyle Anderson minutes too, if possible. Like, I feel like he could guard Vanderbilt, and he just adds such a dynamic like presence to the Grizzlies offense because you can now have playmaking and shooting out of like your 1 to 4. And I just like that. So I just wish like he goes with more Kyle Anderson minutes.
Yeah.
Over Tillman and Clark a little more.
Yeah. No, I agree. Yeah. Thing I like about the Grizzlies is they have a lot of guys who can soak up fouls. Like minutes and fouls, just big men. And they have so many guys that like yesterday, Jaren Jackson Jr. was in foul trouble and ended up fouling out of the game, but they still got Clark and they got Anderson, like all
Tillman.
Tillman. And if they like Steven Adams is there, but
they shouldn't be playing. He's just too slow to guard Cat.
Yeah. Okay, let's move on to another series that makes me sad to say. The Nuggets are the 3-6 matchup. Nuggets are down 3-0. No surprise there. Despite how amazing Jokic is, they don't have their second and third best player, and they're playing the Warriors with Steph Curry back, playing 31 minutes in the last game.
Best 6 man ever.
What's that, sir?
Best 6 man ever, Steph Curry.
Yeah. Best 6 man of all time. Let's talk Warriors first, and then we'll get into Nuggets stuff.
They look like the favorites to win the championship. The two people we had in front of them, we had them as the third. Devin Booker is hurt now.
Yeah.
Middleton's hurt. So the new finals matchup is now Warriors Celtics, and I think most people are going to say experience and lean on the Warriors. So they look like championship favorites. That's how good they're looking. And Poole has looked like a superstar. He looks like someone who's going to get a max offer. Like he went from like 20 to 25 million. Like if they signed a 4-year 80, I'd be like, okay, I could see that. If he signed a 4-year 100, I could be like, oh, he got his bag. Like he deserved it.
Yeah.
But now it's like, can this guy actually get a max? Like someone actually going to put him a max on him is like the Magic can just throw a max at him and see if the Warriors match it or not. You know what I mean? So like, that's how good he's been playing. He's been incredible. He's been like, people call him like Steph nephew, the Splash nephew, the Splash brother / nephew. But I think he's elevating himself to become the Splash third Splash brother. He's been playing incredible. It's just they have 3 guys who could go out there and get you 30 any night. They have the defensive player, like a defensive player of the year caliber player in Draymond Green, who plays incredible. Andrew Wiggins is playing pretty decent as well, and they just have a good team, man. They're just a good team.
Yeah. Klay Thompson's playing heavy minutes, mid 30s, high 30s. He's shooting pretty efficiently from 3, and it's just awesome to see him back. And like you said, Draymond, looking healthy, playing a lot of minutes, getting a lot of assists. Wiggins, he's just doing not really. Wiggins is just kind of hitting threes when he has the opportunity. And like you said, they got three guys who can go off at any moment and drop 30. So, yeah, I agree with you. number one. Bucks would be number one, injury. Suns would be number two, huge injury. And that leaves the Warriors, who were injured. So that's why they fell off of our radar. But now they're not really injured anymore. So
They
they're
look
probably
healthy.
the de facto favorites. So, okay. So let's sadly talk Nuggets. I mean,
Yeah.
as far as the offseason goes, it's just about getting the starting five back together.
Yeah. And people who are saying, like Shaq saying, like, when you're that good of a player, referring to Jokic, you just have to do more. I just want to read out his stat line. He's averaging 29.3 points with 2.3 steals a game, 5 assists, 13 rebounds. Uh, he's shooting 84% from the free throw line, going to the free throw line 6 times a game. His effective field goal percentage is 53.7. His 2-point percentage is 59. His 3-point percentage is horrible at 18%, but he's not shooting that much. His field goal percentage is 52%.
Yeah.
He's playing 34 minutes a game. He's averaging 29-13. Like, what else do you want him to do? Like, he's playing incredible. But at the end of the day, once you get two max level players who are going to play like max level players in Jamal Murray and MPJ back, you can be back into being championship contenders. The only thing they have to do is fill out their team with defenders. Just fill out their team with defenders. They have Monty Morris, who's a good role player. They have Will Barton, who's a good role player. Aaron Gordon, who's a good role player. Get a couple more good role players. DeMarcus Cousins, who's a good backup center. Get a couple more good role players around there, and your team should be good. Even if they keep everyone, just keep everyone. I think they'll be championship contenders. They have the most simplistic off-season duty. It's just keep everyone and work on health. Like, they should be good.
Yeah, exactly. If they do improve, it's just around the margins. Just a couple of I think they have enough offensive firepower. I don't think you really need to worry about that. Like you said, just defenders here, maybe a couple of two-way, just guys off the bench. Yeah, I agree.
Like a PJ Tucker would be perfect.
Exactly, something like that. Yeah, you just bring those two guys back healthy, and if MPJ can ever play a whole season healthy, I think this team could. A fully healthy Nuggets team would be in that group of four with me, with the Bucks, Suns, Warriors, and then it would be the Nuggets. So, yeah, we were talking about them definitely being in the conference finals and possibly being in the finals, possibly being championship favorites if they're healthy. So all it is getting healthy over the offseason. That's it. Okay, so let's move on and talk about the final matchup in the Western Conference, which is the 4-5 matchup, which is tied at 2-2. And Luka Doncic, after I think he came back and looked pretty good after missing less time than some of us feared, I think.
Yeah. 30 points.
Yeah. Not too bad at all. And they were able to take a 2-1 series lead without him, and then they lost with him. But I'm picking the Jazz in this. I mean the Mavs in this series.
Yeah.
And with the healthy Luka, the Suns should be kind of concerned if Luka's back and dropping 30 points.
Yeah, like it's a good series. Like, they're able to get a couple wins with, like, one when Luka wasn't there, one where Luka is there. You know what I mean? So the Jazz are probably gonna be sufficient with their first round loss. They're just a team that makes the playoff and lose.
Yeah,
like, that's what they do. They just have the same defensive scheme, and it's time for Coach Snyder to get fired. Like, he's a good coach, but this defensive scheme constantly of funding everyone to Rudy Gobert just doesn't work. It doesn't work, and we've seen it just get exposed. And I don't want to blame everything on Rudy Gobert or the coach, because they just don't have any positive defenders on the perimeter.
Yeah.
Like yesterday, Bogdanovic had his best defensive game as a Jazz player, but he's past his prime. Like, he cannot do those defensive performances again and again. So it just sucks to see, but the Jazz just don't have the perimeter to win the series. And they're going to be a good team because they have the offense too. Like, Mitchell can get you enough points. They have enough shooting around Mitchell. And they have, the bench Clarkson that could get you 30. So they have enough offense to kind of like keep it competitive and maybe even push it to 7. But that lack of perimeter defense is just going to get them eliminated.
Yeah. So on the Snyder point, do you think he's just kind of making do with what he has? Like you said, they don't really have any defenders. Gobert in the right spots as the defensive player of the year, a defensive player of the year caliber player. So is he kind of just
Yeah.
making do with the roster?
He's doing what he has to do and what he can do, but at the end of the day, like he has to know, like you could tell, like this isn't gonna work, and he just does it in the regular season.
Yeah.
You have to like,
Bench Gobert.
no, you have to not bench Gobert. You have to let your team get exposed in the regular season. Be like, hey,
Yeah.
this is gonna happen playoffs, and he protects them.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think
He
if he does get
protects them and
fired,
makes them look decent in the regular season.
yeah. 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 I think if Quinn Snyder does end up getting relieved of his duties, he'll be snapped up right away by whether it's the Lakers or
Lakers,
just the Lakers realistically.
Kings,
Or
Kings,
the
maybe.
yeah, maybe. But yeah, so we'll get into we'll get into more in-depth Jazz offseason talk. Not now because it's only the series is tied right now 2-2, so we won't get into that now. But
Yeah,
if this does go that way, if they lose in 6, even if they lose in 7, I think it's time for major changes for the Jazz. Yeah, but
they have to.
we'll get into that
Yeah.
next week. Yeah. Okay, so that pretty much covers all of our playoff matchups there. Only other news we kind of mentioned is Scotty Barnes, Rookie of the Year. Marcus Smart was announced as the Defensive Player of the Year. Did we get any other news?
Well, Tyler Hero's gonna win 6 man. It just hasn't been announced yet.
Yeah.
Monty Williams is gonna win Rookie of the Year. It just hasn't been announced yet.
Mm-hmm.
Jokic is gonna win MVP. It just hasn't been announced yet.
John Morant's gonna win Most Improved.
John Morant's gonna win Most Improved. So the only thing we're kind of waiting for that we don't know is defensive teams and all NBA teams.
Right. Yeah.
But
yeah.
we also have a good instinct on all NBA teams too. Like we know Jason Tatum is all NBA first team. We know Trae Young has made all NBA third team. And like the other ones were like pretty obvious. But yeah, it's pretty fun to see. Jokic is back-to-back MVP, which is pretty fun.
Mm-hmm.
Our award, we went pretty good on our awards and all NBA predictions. So that's a little pat on the back for ourselves. So yeah. It's good. It's good, and it sucks that we already know all this because it kind of ruins the excitement. Like,
we were not sure. Pascal Siakam, I think he was a lock for us for all NBA, but I think some people maybe disagree on that. Like we know Bill Simmons disagrees. We know some other
like him and Jimmy Butler right now are fighting it out.
Yeah,
they're pretty close on votes. So that's kind of the only thing that we're kind of like looking forward to finding out who makes that last forward spot. We know DeMar DeRozan is basically a lock for all NBA third team. Well, LeBron and KD made second team. We know Tatum and Giannis made first team, and then we know centers was Jokic and Embiid, Cat.
Yeah,
Jokic and Embiid, Cat. We know guards was Luka, Ja, Curry, CP3, I think. And then, Curry, Booker, and then CP3,
Trae Young.
Yeah. So it's just that Jimmy versus Pascal thing that's up in the air right now.
Yeah, and then we'll see. The defensive teams haven't been announced yet, right?
So defensive teams.
Fred VanVleet, maybe. Yeah. We'll see. Yeah. Okay. That pretty much covers it. We covered the whole first round here, so we'll be into the second round by the time we record next. Probably will we? Or
unless a couple series go 7, but we should be
around
there, like the 7th. Series ending, and game 1s of other series.
Yeah.
So
in any case, we'll have a couple more off seasons to get into. So we can look forward to that. In the meantime, thank you all for listening to this episode. You can find us as always on all of our social media platforms: Instagram at Stretch the Floor Podcast, YouTube STF Clips. Subscribe to the podcast feed, iTunes, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. Leave a like, rating, review. It all really helps with the algorithm. Until then, thank you again for listening, and we'll see you next week.
Still recording. Still recording.
Yeah. Give me a sec.